The following is a presentation of CBC Sports.
Gymnastics, considered by most to be an individual sport. But today, it's a team game. Last year's champions from China are determined to show they're the favorites heading in to the Beijing Olympics. But the Germans have home field advantage today, with star Fabian Habushin ready to take a swipe at the world gymnastics superpowers. Welcome to Stuttgart, Germany. This is Schlossplatz, or Palace Square. It's a popular meeting place in the city of more than 500,000 people. Well, Stuttgart is known for its rich sporting history. In fact, it's been called Europe's capital of sport. After the Second World War, it was the first German city to host an international sporting competition. And since then, it's hosted some of the world's largest events, including last summer's World Cup of Soccer. And in 1989, it hosted the Artistic Gymnastics World Championships. And that's what has brought us to Stuttgart, the 2007 World Gymnastics Championships. And today on CBC Sports Weekend, we're going to be bringing you the men's team competition, and on the line, spots to the Beijing Olympics. Canada's men's team was considered shoo-ins to make it to China, but now there's been a wrinkle in that plan. And with more on that, let's join the other member of our team here in Stuttgart, two-time Olympian Laurie Strong-Ballard. Laurie?
Brenda, the Canadian men's team come into these World Championships with tremendous momentum after a Canadian best sixth-place finish at last year's World Championships in the team final. But since then, top all-arounder Nathan Gafuik broke a bone in his wrist. He had surgery, and that has affected his training. He will compete at these World Championships, but probably not at the top of his game. And then in March, Adam Wong, Canada's best ever finisher in the all-around at last year's World Championships, tore his Achilles tendon. At that point, the national head coach, Edouard Yarev, called up Casey Sandy, a former national team member who's been competing at Penn State University. He asked her to come back and start training for this event, and Casey has a key role here. He will compete on 6 events. But the biggest blow for the Canadian team came when Kyle Schufelt, the Olympic gold medalist on floor, broke both his knees while training here in Germany. Kyle puts up world-class scores on 3, maybe 4 events for this team, so now all of a sudden, several team members need to step up and fill in the scoring voids. So what was once probably a sure thing to qualify a full team to the Olympic Games now becomes a much bigger challenge.
And Laurie, Canada qualified a men's team to the 2004 Olympics, but prior to that, we have to go all the way back to 1988 when a full Canadian men's team competed at the Games. There is no shortage of support for Canada here today at the Hans Martin Schleyer Hall. There's the injured Adam Wong looking on with the Canadian women's team, who, by the way, failed to qualify a team for next summer's Olympics. And also here, Kyle Schufelt, there he is. And Kyle said he wanted to stay here as moral support for the 6 athletes who are trying to finish in the top 12 today. The Canadian men will start on the weakest of 6 events for them, the pommel horse, and this is the guy they call Mr. Dependable, Fall River, Nova Scotia's David Kikuchi.
It's very important to have a sure thing lead off. A first up hit means that the pressure is relieved for the other athletes. And starting on the pommel horse for the men is like starting on the beam for the women. Pressure, nerves, tightness, all play a factor. David doing an excellent clean routine so far. Now, Canada knew they'd be starting on the pommel horse months in advance, and they've been training for it, and that means doing extra numbers in the gym. It also means on their light days, they still had to come in and hit a routine on the horse, and it paid off here for David.
And here's how this qualification event will go. There are 6 gymnasts per team. 5 will compete on each of the 6 apparatus. 4 scores count. And as I said, the top 12 teams will earn a spot to the 2008 Olympics. David Kikuchi and this man, Casey Sandy, are the only 2 Canadians who will be competing on all 6 apparatus in this event.
Injuries to Adam Wong brought Casey Sandy back to this team as the alternate, and then the injuries to Kyle Schufelt means that Casey has to compete on all 6 events. He has a key role here. He has a long pommel horse routine. It's full of difficulty. He's gained some valuable experience competing in the NCAA at Penn State University over the last couple years. They were the national champions this year. He got to visit the White House and President Bush, and now competing in his first World Championships. Excellent routine.
And the expectation, Lori, is that David and Casey's scores will be high enough to send them into the men's all-around competition. Here is Ken Aikida. He comes from a very well-known Canadian gymnastics family. His brother Richard was an integral part of the Canadian men's team for years, and Richard is now retired and has actually joined his father Mitz in the coaching profession.
And for Ken, this is his best event. This is what he's known for. And so far, the Canadian team has had no misses on this event. That's great news. Showing some great single pommel work there. Very difficult to maintain balance. Rhythm and timing is so important on pommel horse. All of these hand placements are blind. Ken has several national titles on this event. But it's interesting, the Canadian team has chosen to not put him last up, which is usually where you put your star athlete, your big scorer. The reasoning behind that is they want to relieve a little bit of pressure and hope to get a strong hit out of him, and that's exactly what they get here. Full pirouette into the dismount, another strong routine for the Canadian team.
And they would have the 11th best team score in this event. Always a relief to have the most difficult apparatus of the team final out of the way. Here's Scott Russell with David Kikuchi.
David, were the indications there from the beginning? I mean, you start on the most difficult event, which is the pommel horse, and it's been Canada's nemesis over the years, and yet did you get the feeling that once there were no misses there, that this was going to be a good day?
Yeah, kind of. The pommel horse is the easiest to make a mistake on and to hit. All of our guys hit on pommel horse, and that kind of gave us a momentum boost, and yeah, we felt good after that.
Now to the second rotation for the Canadians, the rings. And this is Maple Ridge, British Columbia's Grant Golding. He trains with Tony Smith out of the University of Calgary.
And Grant actually retired for a moment a few years ago. He started training for Cirque du Soleil, then decided he missed the sport of gymnastics, which is a good thing for this Canadian team. He certainly increases the depth of the team. He's good in the all-around and fantastic on the rings.
Well, he didn't make the Canadian team that went to Athens, so he's as motivated as any of these Canadian gymnasts to see this team qualify for 2008.
Showing off some strong swing elements there, a little uneasy with the rings. Maintains his stability there in the handstand and the dismount, full twisting double layout. Hop on the landing, 1/10 deduction.
His score, 15.0, that is a solid score for Golding and for Team Canada. Coming up next is David Kikuchi. We'll see him once again, and he too is looking obviously for a spot on that Canadian Olympic team next summer, and he has hinted, Lori, that if he competes in Beijing, he may retire after that.
Well, he's already had a very long and successful career. He's the Canadian national champion right now, and he is the rings champion. And you'll see why with his great difficulty and beautiful positions in that iron cross, pressing up to a Maltese, bounce back to an iron cross. They must hold these strength elements for at least 2 seconds. David has the most difficulty on the routine, and that will show in his score. 2 panels of judges. The A panel looks at the difficulty of the routine, and the B panel looks at how well the athlete does it. They take deductions for execution and start from a score of 10. The A and the B scores are added together for the final score.
And Nathan Gafuick and Casey Sandy also competed on rings. Casey, with a strong 14.625 score, kept the Canadians right on track for that top 12 finish.
This year we brought back Casey to join the team, which actually turned out to be very, very helpful in the long run. He does all 6 events, so that definitely helped the team on especially rings, where we're not so strong right now.
And there is team physiotherapist Susan Masidi working on Grant Golding's shoulder after rings. Every one of these events certainly takes its toll on these athletes. Now to rotation 3 and the vault. And Lori, the Canadians will see a jump in their scores after this event. Calgary's Nathan Gafuick, he was the silver medalist on vault at the Commonwealth Games.
And it's hard to forget the image of Nathan nailing that vault at the last World Championships when Canada qualified to the team final. Another good landing here, just a tiny hop on his Yurchenko 2.5.
So that was score 16, and that would be the 14th best score on vault in this competition. Well, not only is Edmonton's Brandon O'Neill a great floor competitor, he is also strong on vault, and there he is. Brandon finished 7th on this event at last year's World Cup final.
He also won a silver medal at a World Cup in China. He is known for his quick power. That bodes well on floor and vault. Doing a Sukahara 2.5, really struggling to maintain that landing. Every 10th counts for this Canadian team.
Score of 16.150 for Brandon O'Neill. And there's the injured Kyle Schufeld. He has to be pretty pleased, Lori, with what he's seen from his Canadian teammates so far. They were in 4th place after 3 rotations. And there is Tony Smith. He coaches Kyle Schufeld and Grant Golding out of the University of Calgary. Rotation number 4 for the Canadians was parallel bars. And Lori, this had the potential to be a strong event for the Canadians as well. Brandon O'Neill has been a solid performer internationally on this apparatus.
And so far, halfway through this competition, Canada has not had a single miss. Another strong performance here, double pike dismount.
And a very respectable, solid score of 15.675 for Brandon O'Neill. Now to Grant Golding, the Commonwealth gold medalist on P-bars. And Laurie said his goal for next summer is to make an event final. This event or rings would probably be his best shot at doing that.
Grant would probably have to add a little bit more difficulty to his routine. All of these Canadian athletes have choreographed routines that are consistent and solid because the team performance is the most important here.
And after 4 rotations, Canada sat 4th overall.
There's a huge, experience in this team now. So, if somebody gets hurt or if somebody's not quite 100% that day, we can all step up to the moment and really do a good job.
For rotation number 5, the Canadians traveled to the high bar where Laurie Casey Sandy turned in another solid performance.
Casey has nice extension on this event. He's improved on his form over the year, and that's important. Just the dismount left. Gaining some speed and momentum. It's a double twisting, double layout. One small step on the landing. Strong routine.
But shortly after this, Laurie, the Canadians started to run into some problems.
Brandon O'Neill has a huge release element. It's called a tuck Kovacs, coming right here. Way too far. Misses the bar. Now in the new code of points, it's 8/10 for a fall.
And we have to remember, in an event like this, there may be only 4 to 6 points separating a team that finishes first to the one that ends up in 12th position.
Now at this point, he can remount and repeat the element so he gets the difficulty value for it. That's exactly what Brandon does, and he's right on the second time around. Hop full. Another element right there. It's called a Stalder Rybalko. Little separation of the legs. And the dismount. Another double twisting, double layout, takes a step on the landing. Yes, 8/10 for the fall, but he repeated the element, so he still gets the difficulty.
Again, 5 gymnasts compete on each apparatus. Only 4 scores count, so the Canadians would drop the ring score by Brandon O'Neill. Here on high bar now, Nathan Gafuick, it's his best event.
He's known for his high-flying release elements. We saw Coleman, and here's the tucked Kovacs, the element that Brandon O'Neill suffered a fall on. The last World Championships, he was so successful. Nathan Gafuick, he qualified to the all-around final. He has struggled throughout this year with an injury that he sustained at those World Championships. He had to have surgery on his wrist that has affected his training, but he's doing a great job here.
And Nathan would have a solid score of 14.225. Despite the problems on high bar for the Canadians, they felt confident as they headed to the 6th and final event.
We have a really strong core group of guys right now, 8 guys in a 6-man team. So I think everybody will be going home and working really hard, and that will only bring the standard up in gymnastics in Canada, and that's only a good thing. I think we'll go into the Olympics with a really strong team, and I think we'll have some good results there.
The Canadians' final event was floor, and Lori, they could have used this man's help, Olympic champion Kyle Schufelt.
Kyle broke his knees while training here in Germany. He was performing a brand new skill, an extremely difficult double Arabian in the laid out position. It's a blind landing, and unfortunately he took a bad landing, landed stiff-legged.
Well, the Canadians were still in pretty good shape as they were led by a world medalist on the floor exercise, Brandon O'Neill.
Brandon won the silver medal at the 2005 World Championships on this event. 2.5 front full, front 1.5. Very clean, good difficulty, and some combination bonus.
And the Canadians here were in a fight with Belarus, Ukraine, and Switzerland for that final spot to Beijing. And I'm sure Brandon O'Neill was feeling all the pressure of that on his shoulders.
Brandon had the possibility of qualifying to an event final on this event, but again, the #1 priority for this Canadian team was qualifying to the Olympic Games in top 12, and sometimes that means watering down your routines, not throwing some of those risky elements. So Brandon went for a routine that was secure and solid. The buzzer sounded. He had 10 seconds to finish. Ends with a full in, a little stumble on the last tumbling pass.
And that score of 15.525 would be enough to push the Canadians over the top. The top 12 teams qualify for next summer's Olympics, and the Canadians would finish 11th here in Stuttgart, Germany.
You've done things individually. Was it important for you to play the important role in the team's success?
Well, it was huge. I mean, I could have put out more start value on a couple of my events, but I knew there was a risk in that, and if I did that for myself and then I made a mistake, it would be a huge blow to the team and it wouldn't be very good.
And there had been so many questions surrounding this team after injuries to Adam Wong and Kyle Schufelt, but Casey Sandy stepped up and showed there is depth in Canadian men's gymnastics.
I'm very happy with the result, and we probably qualified already. And the guys did very nice job, very big pressure.
It's going to be tough to make that Olympic team, but I think we have, what it'll do is the guys push each other. We're going to have 6 great guys ready to go. I think we definitely have a chance to be on the podium as a team at the Olympic Games.
Harder to watch or compete?
Way harder to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so nerve-wracking just knowing that you have no control. And when I'm out there competing, I know I can control my performances, and I trust that. Each time the guys went up, though, it was like so awesome to watch them hit, and to achieve this great result is awesome.
Congratulations to the Canadian men's team for getting the job done under less than ideal circumstances. Well, after qualification, we're not surprised to see China and Japan leading the way, but maybe a few eyebrows were raised as Germany finishes in 3rd place. Only the top 8 countries advance to the men's team final. Rotation 1 is coming up next when we return to Stuttgart, Germany. Welcome back to the Hans-Martin Schleyer Hall in Stuttgart, Germany. Here on CBC Sports Weekend, we're getting set for the men's team final. And Lori, unlike the qualification round, there are 3 athletes per country, per apparatus in the final, but maybe the biggest difference is the fact that every single score counts.
Well, Brenda, with this format, 3 up, 3 count, consistency is crucial. One big mistake and a team could go from 1st down to 8th. But it also means that teams that don't have the depth, like a China or a Japan, can be competitive. They can put up their top 3 athletes across 6 events.
And you talk about China and Japan, and just the fierce rivalry between these two countries is amazing. And it's going to be interesting because many people believe this competition, this final, is a two-horse race.
Well, Japan is the defending Olympic champions, and China comes in here as the world champions. They are the class of the field, not only in their difficulty, but in their consistency, the quality, and the execution of their routines as well. But again, with this format, 3 up, 3 count, the door is wide open.
And Lori, the Chinese, the top qualifiers, will start their first rotation on floor. Joining them will be the second place Japanese, and that's where we expect to see the fight for the gold medal. This is Liang Fuliang of China. He scored an impressive 15.7 in the preliminaries, and that was good enough to give him a spot in the men's floor final.
His opening pass is incredibly difficult, a full twisting double layout. Combination of 3 flight elements. 1 3/4 rollout as the final element. The athletes are only allowed 2 skills that roll out like that.
No music accompanies the male gymnasts, unlike the female gymnasts.
In men's gymnastics, they have 70 seconds to complete the routine, and the judges are looking for their 9 most difficult skills plus the dismount, and those will be added into their A score. The music you are hearing is the background music. The athlete is not performing to the music. Must hold the wide arm handstand for 2 seconds. There's the buzzer. That means he has 10 seconds to finish the routine. Jam-packed with difficulty, finishing with a 2.5 twist, steps out on the landing, 1/10 deduction there.
Another thing we should mention is that the perfect score in gymnastics is no longer 10.
Absolutely. In the new code of points, a good score is a 15. Anything that dabbles in those 16s is a tremendous score, especially on floor. There's an A panel of judges, 2 judges that look at the content of the routine, the difficulty of the routine, and 6 judges make up the B panel, and they take execution deductions and deductions for lack of artistry.
His score, 15.325, so China off to a typically strong start on the floor exercise. And the Spanish start their day off on vault. They're led by Gervasio Deffer. He won the Olympic title on this event in 2004 and 2000.
He's performing the Schufelt. It's named after Kyle Schufelt, who was the first athlete to perform the Yurchenko 2.5 twist. Very clean in the air, a little squat on the landing.
16.0 is his score. His qualification score on this event was a little higher. Top vault score will probably be in the 16.5 range. Here is 19-year-old Zhu Kai. Floor is his best event, and he finished 6th at last year's World Championships. And he had the best score on this event in the qualification round.
He's the youngest member of this Chinese team. He's got a routine packed full of skills, opening with a combination of 2 D elements. On the men's side, skills are ranked from A being the easiest, and they get 0.1 bonus for it, all the way up to an F level skill where they get 0.6. Very difficult tumbling pass coming up here. Whip to an immediate laid out Thomas. Timing is crucial on those 1 3/4 rollout skills. Of course, the athletes like to perform those because it minimizes their landing deductions because they're not landing on their feet. That is a required non-gymnastic skill. It's called a triple Russian. His second rollout skill. They are only allowed to do 2 rollout skills. Final tumbling pass. This is his 5th Major tumbling pass, full in, back out. Huge difficulty in this routine.
And Lori, because of the new code of points, to be competitive, athletes now have to perform bigger, more riskier floor exercises.
Absolutely. The men are now performing up to 5 tumbling passes. In the past, under the old system, the old judging system, we saw maybe 3 tumbling passes. Endurance is so important, especially on this event.
And some would say that the new code of points sacrifices artistry for athleticism.
Absolutely. Now, there are some athletes who are still able to do this high level of skills and include that artistic value to it. But on the most part, across the board, we are losing a little bit of that artistic value in the sport.
His score, 15.7, a little lower than his qualification score of 16.275. Now to the rings, Russia's Alexander Safoshkin. Russia was 6th in the team event in Athens, but the Russians, Lori, have had to deal with some pretty major injuries.
Absolutely. They had 2 major injuries on the vault in the qualification. Their depth is most definitely hurt here. And then you have to keep in mind that this athlete, Alexander Safoshkin, is pretty much a specialist on the rings and the P-bars. But on this event, he can put big scores up. Beautiful position in his cross, holding it for 2 seconds. Aiki Yamawaki up to a planche. Little movement of the rings there, but he is so strong he's still able to maintain his position in his handstand, the dismount, a full twisting double layout. Russia needs something big here.
Well, that score should be one of the highest that we will see on rings today. Japan is the reigning Olympic champions in the men's team competition, and Hisashi Misatori was that country's best performer on floor during qualification. He finished in 6th place.
What a great Worlds this has already been for Misatori. Originally, he was the alternate to this team, and one of his teammates, Takahiro Kashima, broke his hand on the pommel horse during training while here in Germany. And now he's been competing for the team. He's qualified to several event finals and the all-around final.
Just shows the depth on this Japanese team.
Combination of 3 flight elements, a little crooked. Whip back to a tucked Thomas. So much tumbling in this 70-second routine. Good solid landing on a double twist. It's important to take a deep breath here, get some oxygen to his muscles as he prepares for his final tumbling pass. Very controlled, 2.5 twist, steps out on the landing, 1/10 deduction there.
As we mentioned, Hisashi will be in the floor final. The top 8 athletes on every apparatus qualify for the final, and then the top 24 all-around athletes on all 6 events will compete in the all-around final. 2 Canadians will be in that competition, David Kikuchi and Casey Sandy.
Let's take a look here at his whip to a tucked Thomas. 1.5 twisting, 1 3/4 rollout. It's named after Kurt Thomas, who did it many years ago for the first time, and it is a very popular skill in today's men's gymnastics.
Well, that score a little lower than his qualification score, but still solid for the Japanese. Now over to the pommel horse and the Americans. This is Alexander Artemov. The 22-year-old became the first U.S. World Pommel Horse medalist in nearly 30 years when he finished 3rd at the last World Championships.
He's known for his incredible execution on this event, especially in his flares. Showing some difficult elements, traveling from one end of the horse to the other, and now his single pommel work. He has a big skill coming up here. His teammates cheering him on. That's a full curve on one pommel and one arm. Extreme speed, beautiful execution. Look at the height of his legs in his flare work. Outstanding. This crowd loves it. They know great gymnastics. The one problem here is his A score. The difficulty is a little bit lower than the top guys on this event, and that's what's going to hurt his score slightly.
But Lori, he's caught what you call the wow factor. When you watch him, you just can't believe how fast he is, how fluid. But like you said, it's deceiving to the untrained eye that the difficulty isn't there.
Absolutely. He makes this work look like an art form. Beautiful execution, especially on the flare work right here. Take a look at that left leg way up by his ear. Outstanding.
Here are a few boos in the crowd. His score would be 14.775. One of Korea's weakest events is vault, and this is Yang Tae-yoon.
Solid job here, though. Very clean in the air on his 2.5 twist.
He is the 2004 Olympic bronze medalist in the all-around competition, and he had the top Korean score on vault in the qualification round.
It's called a Sukahara, 2.5. He does a half turn onto the vaulting table and a 2.5 twist in the air. Pretty good form with the legs glued together.
So after one rotation, Spain and Korea sit 1-2 by virtue of the high-scoring nature of the vault. The favorites from China are third. The Japanese are in 5th position. Well, the top of this TV tower, one of the best places to get a bird's-eye view of this bustling German city. When we return to Stuttgart, it is rotation number 2. Now to rotation number 2 in this men's team final. This is Romania's Ilia Daniel Popescu. He's qualified into the vault final, Lori.
One of the best vaulters in the world. Triple twisting Sukahara, outstanding difficulty. His A score will be a 7.0, so you add that to a perfect execution score of a 10. A perfect score for that vault would be a 17.
And at the last World Championships, Romania finished 4th in the men's team event, and they'll be in tough to stay in the top 4 this year. And that's probably the best score that we will see in this event all day long. Pommel horse is the next apparatus for the Japanese, and this is the anchor of their team, Hiroyuko Tomita. Tomita is the 2005 World All-Around Champion.
And he had the best score for the Japanese team on this event during qualifying. For Japan to stay in the game, and knowing what China can do on this event, they need to have 3 hits, and so far they've had 2. They're depending on Tomita to come through here. Triple Russian at the end. Showing some very intricate hand placements. Traveling from one end of the horse to the other. That's something that the judges are looking for, and of course this is the required scissor work. Almost home free, just the dismount. Presses up, full pirouette. Job well done.
There's no question that this is the most difficult event for most gymnasts. Japan finished 2nd in the qualification round on the pommel horse behind the Chinese.
Take a look at the intricate single pommel work right there. You're dealing with a very narrow space to place the hands. Timing is so critical.
And this event takes so much discipline, Lori.
Absolutely, and we see teams like China and Japan excelling on this event. For one reason, they have tremendous technicians in their country who teach the basics, the technique, and the progressions very well on this. And mostly, they have the patience and the discipline to be very successful on pommel horse.
Tomita score 15.50. Good score for the Japanese on this event. In rotation 2, the Koreans take to the parallel bars. This is Yang Tae-yoon's best apparatus. So it was disappointing for him, Lori, during qualification that he wasn't able to finish in the top 8 in this event and advance to the event final.
But overall in qualifying, this was a strong event for the Koreans. They had 3 athletes score over 16. That will certainly help with the format of this team final where 3 athletes compete and all 3 scores count. Remember back to the 2001 World Championships, Korea had some difficulties. On rings, one of their athletes tore his bicep and received a score of 0, dropped him right out of the competition. Looking for some big success here, stumbles out on the dismount. An ace score of 6.8 for this routine. The difficulty was extremely strong. He will get a deduction for the landing of that dismount.
His qualification score was 16.0. His score here is 15.950.
Overall, the scores in this competition have been a little bit lower than in qualifying, but that usually happens in a final when it's extremely competitive.
Back to the pommel horse, China's Zhao Qin is the class of the field in this event. He is the 2005-2006 world champion on pommel horse. And Lori, China feeling a lot of pressure with the Beijing Olympics less than a year away now.
They have been outstanding throughout this entire competition, and Zhao Qin, in training and in competition, makes people stop and watch his incredible technique. Beautiful height in the hips through his flare work. Nice extension in his body from his shoulder down to his toes. This athlete is admired by even his competitors, the best on this event. So much respect. Finishing strong, an A score of a 6.6. That B score should be way up there as well.
Well, he was the top qualifier on this event with a score of just over 16 points. And the Chinese do not want to suffer the same disappointment they did in Athens when they finished 5th.
Looks good here, a score of 16.225, and one of the B judges gave him a 9.9 out of a 10.
Here is the European all-around champion, 23-year-old Maxime Deviatowski of Russia. The Russians hurting in this event because of injuries.
Performing a handspring double front, actually 3 rotations there. He puts his hands down because there's support on his hands. That is a 5/10 deduction. Russia lost the European vault champion Anton Golotsukov in the qualifying. He broke his foot on this event, so yes, they are hurting in depth, and this score will be lower than he's capable of.
After rotation 2, the Koreans lead with 95 points, followed by the Romanians and Chinese. Japan is 6th, and the U.S. 7th, Germany 8th. Here's a look at downtown Stuttgart and one of the busiest places there, the market. When we return to Germany, it's rotation 3. Not only has the World Gymnastics Championships brought thousands of visitors to Stuttgart, but so has the city's annual wine festival, which takes place during September. Back inside for rotation 3, we'll start our coverage off with the star of German gymnastics, Fabian Habuschen.
Fabian performing a vault with a round-off entry. A 2.5 twist in the air. It's called the Schuhfeld, named after Canadian Kyle Schuhfeld. Well done. Exceptional position in the air. Fairly clean on the landing.
The 19-year-old was 3rd on this apparatus at the World Championships just a year ago.
This is where we will see Germany start to pull ahead. They're strong on the vault, and they still have their best events to come. For Fabian, this vault he could pretty much do in his sleep. He's extremely powerful. The 2.5 twist had beautiful position in the air, legs glued together, and he maintained a nice direction between those directional lines on the landing.
Well, you said this is called the Schuhfeld. Almost every element in gymnastics has a name attached to it.
Well, when an athlete performs an original element at a World Championships or an Olympic Games, the skill can be named after them.
And there is a move called the Lori Strong.
There is a strong on the bars, yes.
And here is the score, 16.175 for Fabian Habuschen of Germany. Up next, parallel bars, and it's Russia's Nikolai Krukov, who is the European silver medalist on this apparatus, and at 28 years old, he's one of the senior members of this team.
And this may be tough to watch. He badly hurt his knee on vault during qualifying, and he has been limping around this arena all day today. I'm amazed to see that he is competing here, and I know it'll be interesting to see how he can perform this dismount.
The Russians finished second in the men's team event at the 2006 Worlds, but because of those injuries, it's not going to be easy for them to repeat.
An extremely long routine here, an A score of a 6.6 for this routine. If he gets credit for all of his skills, there's the dismount, takes the landing. What a tough competitor. You can see he's limping off the podium there. An outstanding effort. There is a tucked Morrisouet, the double back between the bars, crashing down on those biceps. The arms take such a beating on this event.
And he is known as one of the nicest competitors. He's Mr. Congeniality, I guess you could say, on the Gymnastics World Cup Tour. Rotation 3 sees China on rings. Shen Hibing is the reigning world champion on this event, and he had a score of 16.6 on this apparatus during qualification, the highest of any gymnast.
He will show how this event should be performed. Amazing combination of strength elements. The judges want the athlete to directly get to the position. Excellent job there, into his iron cross, and they must hold those strength elements for 2 seconds. Beautiful Maltese. These shoulders are in line with the rings. Excellent handstand position. He has tremendous control of the rings at all time. Flares open a full twisting double layout. He looked like he had a little fun there.
One thing that a lot of people find amazing about these athletes on rings is the fact that they do not train with weights.
Most of the conditioning is done with their own body weight, and on rings it's important to have a great strength to body weight ratio. Quite often you see the stronger upper body and a little bit smaller in the lower half in the legs. Again, Chen Hibing has got incredible difficulty on this event, and where he excels is in the positions of the strength elements, and he adds a little extra flair there in the iron cross, lifting the chin, showing off a little bit on this event. Excellent inverted cross. Take a look at the straight line from wrist to wrist, from ring to ring. And he holds it with a little extra time.
That routine close to perfection. And that certainly will not hurt the Chinese in the overall standings in this men's team final. And he is the favorite heading into the men's rings final. His score, 16.450, slightly lower than his qualification score, but still good enough for him to help China move up in the overall standings. Here are the Koreans on high bar. Yang Tae-suk led the Korean team through the first 2 rotations, and Korea currently sits in first place in the overall standings.
Known for their high risk in everything they do. Here comes a release element here. Laid out Jaeger. You see his coach standing in for safety reasons, just in case. And these high-level release elements, they can stand in case there's a miss, and he falls. 8/10 deduction there. The coach is checking to see if he is all right. Looks to be no injury.
Looks to be more frustrated than anything else. He has 30 seconds now before he has to get back on the apparatus.
He'll head over and re-chalk. He did not look like he was off on that skill at all. His hands simply slipped from the bar.
Well, in a competition like this where so few points separate the top 8 teams in this competition, every fall, every miss like that is critical.
Now he could have chosen to repeat the element, but he will not, so he loses 8/10 for the fall plus 5/10 for the loss of the difficulty of that tough element, that release move. Dismount, double twisting, double layout, hops on the landing.
Who makes that decision whether or not to repeat the element?
It's a combination between the coach and the athlete, and sometimes the athlete has the biggest say in that they may not feel comfortable, they may be off on that skill, and they don't want to risk falling again and losing another 8/10. So this skill is a full twisting Jaeger. It's called the Winkler, and just simply too far from the bar here. He doesn't square up his body at the end of the full turn, and his hands slip from that very high bar.
A huge disappointment for the Koreans. Now to Takuya Nakase of Japan on rings. Rings not a strong event for the Japanese. Takuya does not have the degree of difficulty in his routine that some of the other top gymnasts on this apparatus will have, so he has to be close to perfect if he wants to have a solid score.
He has strong difficulty at 6.5, but when you compare that to the best, like Chen Yibing, who had a 7.3, then yes, he is starting behind already before the routine starts. It's important for him to get a high B score. And that means holding all of his strength elements, getting to positions directly, maintaining stability. Little arch in the back on the handstand there. There will be deductions. Double pike swing element. And the dismount. Full twisting double layout. That's a D-level dismount, which is the minimum requirement in a competition like this.
Well, that is probably about 2 points lower than the scores we'll see from the ring specialists here in Germany. With 3 rotations complete, China has moved into first place. Russia holds down the number 2 position, followed by Korea and Romania. We'll have rotation 4 in just a moment. This is the Schlossplatz fountain, located in the center of this German city of more than 500,000 people. It's in the heart of Stuttgart shopping district and just a short drive from the site of the 2007 Artistic Gymnastics World Championships. Let's move now to rotation number 4. Here is Kevin Tan, a member of the 2006 American team, which finished a disappointing 13th at the World Championships, Lori.
Well, the Olympic all-around champion Paul Hamm and his brother Morgan Hamm retired after the Olympics when the American team won the silver medal. And they had a very inexperienced team at the last World Championships. Since then, they have reloaded and refocused, and they are a much improved team at these Worlds. Kevin has a very difficult combination of elements here. Peach to handstand, into a piked bell. Giant swing into a tucked bell, landing on those upper arms. Again, he is not wearing any protection on his upper arms. You can see that his biceps are chalked. That helps reduce the friction on the skin on those elements that land on the biceps. Like this tucked bell. Nice position in the air, nice tight tucked position. He has to muscle just a little bit into this press handstand.
His execution close to perfection, but with that low degree of difficulty. His score is a full point short of what we are going to see from the best on this apparatus. Well, a reminder that next weekend we will have more gymnastics from Stuttgart, Germany. It's the men's and the women's individual all-around final. 24 men will compete on all 6 events, 24 women on 4. That's coming your way at 2:30 local on CBC Sports Weekend next Sunday. Lori, China and Japan, the last to compete on vault, so we'll get a truer picture of where everyone is in the standings after this event. And here is Japan's best on this apparatus, Mikado Okaguchi.
Well, in this competition, there are 8 teams, and they're competing across 6 events. So we've seen the leaders come and go as they hit their best events. And for Japan, they still have their better events to come in this competition.
As you'll see here, you have to be a pretty good sprinter to be a good vaulter.
Absolutely. Power and speed in the run is important. They only have 25 meters to lead up to a huge vault for Okiguchi. A triple twisting Sukahara, a little crooked on the landing, but he stays in between those directional lines, so there won't be a deduction there.
The best vaulters look for scores in the 16.5 range.
Again, the speed is so important. Take a look at his sprinting technique there. He gets a nice explosive power off the vaulting table. You've got to take this vault very high and stall the rotation in order to have enough flight time to get 3 twists fully completed. Count them 1, 2, 3 twists. A little cross of the legs in the air, but again, the judges are seeing this at full speed and it's hard to pick up those deductions.
There is now in gymnastics video replay, but it's only used by the A judges who look at the content. And that is better than his score during qualification, 16.250. Coming up next, Jonathan Horton from Houston, Texas, and the 21-year-old's best event is this one, parallel bars. His main priority this year is to make the U.S. Olympic team, but he says after gymnastics is over, he's hoping his second career will be as a stuntman.
Well, you see a lot of these top athletes going into those fields, doing stunt work or joining Cirque du Soleil, where they can still get that adrenaline rush that they got from gymnastics and be able to perform. Jonathan is super talented, but in the past he has struggled with consistency. A little off on his peach half there. He had to adjust his hand. In the background, you can hear his teammates cheering him on. Tucked bell. This American team is a very close-knit team. Pushing through a difficult and nice routine here. Just the dismount, double pike, small hop.
The Americans sat in 5th place heading into this rotation. And Lori, getting back to what you were saying about the Americans being a very tight-knit team, there isn't a big star that they've sometimes had in the past, so they all have to really work together, pull together to make it through in an event like this.
Absolutely. The number one priority for this team was to see an improvement in the team results, to qualify to the Olympic Games top 12, get into this team final, and possibly win a medal as a team. They've put all of those individual ambitions on hold for now. And we'll see this athlete, Jonathan Horton, competing in the all-around final. His score here, a 15.4. And Jonathan believes that he is probably the U.S.'s top all-around athlete. He says that's until Paul Hamm comes back on the scene. And Paul Hamm, the Olympic champion in the all-around at the last Olympics, has announced that he will come out of retirement and plans to train for the Beijing Olympics.
How difficult is that for a group of athletes that they themselves obviously want to go to Beijing and find out that a retired athlete is coming out of retirement and possibly take their spot on the team?
Well, I think it's a hugely positive thing for this American team. Not only does Paul have a big name, but he's also going to push these athletes to be better.
Lots of young gymnasts at the Hans-Martin Schleyer Hall to watch these World Championships. We'll have more from the men's team final, rotation 4, in a moment. We continue our coverage of the World Championships with the Korean on-floor exercise, and on the floor right now, Kim Dae-young, the reigning Olympic silver medalist in the all-around competition, and he considers floor his best event.
He opened with a very strong double twisting double back. That's an E-level skill worth 0.5 towards his A score. A little stumble out of his third tumbling pass there. 4 tumbling passes back to back. With each skill and combination, he is adding points to that A score. athletes are required to show forward, backward, and Arabian or sideways style tumbling. Judges look at the 9 highest skills and the dismount. Here comes the dismount here. Full in, back out. A little short on his landing. He looked to be tired at the end of this routine.
Lori Correa was in the running for a medal in the men's team event in Athens, but fell just a bit short, finishing in 4th place.
You know, this is a team that I don't think you can ever rule out. Quite often in qualification, they are a little bit lower, but they come on strong in the finals and even in the all-around finals as well.
Fabian Hambuschen of Germany does so many things well. Parallel bars, though, is not considered his specialty, but that does not mean he can't put up some pretty big scores on this apparatus.
Well, actually, this is a much improved event for Fabian. He has grown so much as an athlete, not only mentally, but physically as well. He's grown up as a man, so that makes him a little stronger and more powerful, and it shows in every single one of his apparatus. What's impressed me so much here about Fabian is the fact that he has been under the constant limelight. He's had so many press obligations. He's had to work that around his training, and the entire time he's been gracious, enthusiastic, and extremely focused. He hits a very good routine here on P-bars.
Well, that kind of pressure can make you or break you, and he seems to be rising to the occasion. Some athletes would crumble under this sort of scrutiny.
Brenda, he's young. He just graduated from high school, and he's handling this pressure like a true star.
And we have to remember that a lot of the top gymnasts in the world peak in their mid-20s.
Well, with Fabian, we saw some glimpses of greatness at the last Olympic Games, but I really think that he is coming into his own right now. This is his prime.
There is the score for Fabian Hambuschen, 15.575. Now we're going to head back to the floor, and coming up, the backbone of the Korean team, Yang Tae-young. And floor is one of Korea's best events, and the Koreans currently sit in 3rd place.
Opening with a double-double. Korea has had 2 hits so far on floor, looking for a solid score here.
When you say hits, you mean close to perfect routines.
Strong routines. No misses, no falls, no misconnections. Holding his wide arm handstand for the required 2 seconds. Yang Tae-young has a beautiful extension and straight legs. A little difficulty there. 2.5 twist to a front half. He intended to do a full twist there. His timing was off. Lands with his chest low, small deduction. Trying to get done within the 70 seconds, ends with a full in back out. One small trouble there on his second to last tumbling combination, the 2.5 to the front half.
He had a disappointing score on floor in qualification. Another disappointment here in the final. That is the lowest score for the Koreans on floor today. Here's how things look at the end of rotation 4. China's first with a big lead, Japan second, Korea very close behind, the Japanese in 3rd. We'll be back. During the 18th century, this was home to the kings of Germany. The building sustained some major damage during the Second World War, but was rebuilt by the citizens of Stuttgart as a celebration of the city. Now back to the Hans-Martin Schleyer Hall, where the Germans have had some challenges during the first 4 rotations of this men's team final. They currently sit in 6th place, just a point out of that bronze medal position. And Lori, high bar is a big one for Germany, and this is where the Germans can make up some ground. Philipp Boy is the man in the hot seat right now.
This is a high-risk event, and the Germans, especially their anchor, Fabian Hambuschen, have some big release elements.
A reminder that 3 athletes compete on each event and all 3 scores count.
Stalder hop full. The judges want to see those turning, those pirouetting elements finish within 30 degrees of handstand. That's a new rule since the last World Championships. Another hop full. Hop full and a half. That's called a ribalco. And the dismount. Double twisting, double layout, and he comes in short, puts his hands down. If you brush your hands on the floor, again, that is just a 3/10 deduction, but if you actually have to put support on your hands, it's a 5/10 deduction. This is a crucial moment for the German team, and a tough miss here. Taking a look at his ribalco, he was a little bit late on finishing the turn. There'll be about a 10th deduction there. But the toughest break came on that dismount, 5/10 for that landing.
Well, the top gymnasts on this event will score in the 16-point range. The score for Philippe Boy, 14.125. Now to Robert Yokel, and it's not easy going after a teammate who has made a mistake, especially, Lori, when you're competing in front of a jam-packed stadium that wants nothing more than for this German team to have success.
Absolutely. You know the pressure is on this team. They have a chance to win a team medal here, but they've had a miss. And it's important for Robert not to allow the tension to get to him, to cause his swing to become tight, or to allow the energy in this arena to push him to overpower some of the elements as well. Must stick to his technique and exactly what he's been practicing in the gym day in and day out. Encouragement from his teammates on the side. Here's the dismount, double twisting, double layout. Nails the landing. What a great comeback for this German team.
Robert's degree of difficulty is a full point lower than the top gymnasts on this event in the qualification round. And that gymnast was his teammate, Fabian Habushin.
Well, in the team competition with 3 up, 3 hit, there's no throwaway score, so a consistent hit is more important than throwing the big difficulty. And now Fabian Habushin is set up very nicely, and he throws the big difficulty.
Here is one of China's most famous gymnasts, Yang Wei, and he won the gold medal in the all-around competition at last year's World Championships and won the gold medal in this event, parallel bars. Lori, what makes him stand out from the rest of the pack?
Well, obviously consistency is very strong. He is good across 6 events, but he excels on rings, pommels, and here on P-bars, where he can put up scores that are well above the rest of the pack. Beautiful piked bell. It's called a tippet. It's a D-level skill. Healy to handstand. Excellent precision in all of his positions. On his double saltos, on the P-bar, he's in a nice tight body position. His handstands are beautiful. Judges will also deduct for those little extra hand movements in the handstand work. You can see that he is very clean with his hands. And the dismount, double pike, great routine.
Heading into this round, China had a 5-point lead on the rest of the field, and that's some pretty big ground for any country to make up.
Yang Wei shows that he can throw almost every skill in the book on this routine. His A score is a 7.0, so that really helps elevate his final score.
Now, a score is 16.1, one of the top 5 scores that we've seen on this event today. As we mentioned earlier, Fabian Habushin is world-class on every apparatus, but this is his specialty. He won the gold medal on this event at the European Championships earlier this year.
And a medal for Germany possibly hinges on his very risky routine, starting off with a Coleman release element. high bar is around 4 meters above the ground. And then, of course, they get extra flight time on these release elements. Here comes a connection right here. Tkachev straight to a straddle Tkachev. It's amazing how loud this crowd can get at times and then how hushed they can get. They are all sitting on the edges of their seats into the dismount.
Wonderful routine by Fabian Hambushin.
What an amazing effort under this intense pressure. He throws that kind of difficulty, the high-flying release elements. He attacked that routine with so much confidence.
And he just kind of lets out a huge sigh of relief as he gets off the apparatus.
I think for this German team, they knew that if they could just get through this event, yes, they had the break by Philip Boy early in their lineup, but then they were solid after that.
And Lori, that is the first score over 16 that we've seen today on high bar. That may well stand up as the top score on this apparatus. Well, it looks like the Germans are poised to make a move up the standings here in Stuttgart. More from Rotation 5 and the men's event final in just a moment. The pressure is certainly on the Americans right now if they want to make a move on the Koreans for that third and final spot on the medal podium in the men's team competition. The Germans, though, also a threat for the bronze medal, Lori, after 3 spectacular routines on high bar. Now it's up to American David Durante here on high bar.
David is the current U.S. national champion, so he knows a little bit about pressure. Coach will lift him to the bar. Starts in a still position, although the coach can initiate the swing for him. His biggest release element comes at the beginning of the routine. Almost a laid out Kovacs. Another skill right there. Kovacs in the tucked position as well. Tkachev straight and he's off. Hands tapped the bar, but he could not hang on. 30 seconds to remount.
Must be very difficult to collect yourself and trying to stay composed, get back up on the apparatus after falling.
You can see he's having a conversation with his coach. His coach said no, he will not repeat the element. Coach asked him, do you want to redo this straight to Tkachev? You know, I think he was surprised that he missed that element. In fact, I'm surprised he hit the 2 most difficult release elements in the routine and missed the more simple release element. It's so easy to get ahead of yourself on this event thinking, I've got it made, I've got it done, I've hit my biggest skills. Solid dismount. He drops into the landing of the dismount. No deduction there. There's the most difficult release element. The double salto over the high bar in pretty much a laid out position there, but he missed that easier Tkachev straight.
The Korean gymnasts do most everything well, and this is one of their stronger suits, the pommel horse. We've seen this man in almost every rotation so far. That's because he is their leader. Yang Tae-yoon. The Korean sat in 3rd place heading into this second to last rotation.
Showing some nice Russian work on the leather. With this new code of points, we've seen the pommel horse routines get longer and longer. Oh, a little trouble right there. Somehow pulls it out, regaining the momentum and the speed. Athletes have to do a lot of skills to build up that A score. A solid hit for Yang Tae-young.
His score 14.875, a solid score for the Koreans. Japan's Hiroyuki Tomita was the silver medalist on parallel bars at the 2006 World Championships, and he is the anchor of this Japanese team. Every Japanese gymnast will have to be close to perfect, though, Lori, if they have any chance of catching the Chinese, who are in first place.
And we saw Yang Wei moments ago competing on this event with an excellent routine. Yang Wei's biggest competitor in the all-around competition is usually Tomita.
This is our last gymnast in this rotation.
Yang Wei scored a 16.1. Hiroyuki Tomita is capable of scores in the high 16s or in the 16s. Dismount. Well done routine. This should be right up there with what Yang Wei scored.
Looking for a score probably in the 16-point range, and he has that. It's one of the better scores that we're going to see on this event, but two Chinese gymnasts outscored Tomita, so the Japanese men will now have only one event left to make up ground on the Chinese. And for those of you following Team Canada's progress at the World Cup of Soccer, you can tune in early Wednesday morning as the Canadians take on the Australians in China. It's going to be near impossible to catch the Chinese men with just one rotation to go, but what a battle we have going for that bronze medal position between Germany, Korea, Russia, and the United States. Just 2 points separating them. You don't have to travel far outside of the city of Stuttgart to find some of Germany's finest vineyards. Coming up next on CBC Sports, it's the 6th and final rotation. Welcome back to Germany in the final rotation of the World Championships. Heading into the final apparatus, the Chinese have a 6-point lead on second place Japan. With 3 gymnasts per country still to compete, it's a tall order for anyone to catch the Chinese. But there is less than 0.2 points separating the third place Germans and the fourth place Koreans. Remember, every score counts in the men's team final.
And less than 2/10 in a competition like this is nothing. That's like taking a deduction for a step on a landing.
Korea's last apparatus is rings. This is Yuan Chul. Unfortunately for the Koreans, this is probably their weakest event.
They will have to be right on in their strength elements. You also have to keep in mind that this is their 6th and final event. Fatigue could play a factor. And on an event where strength is so important, that could be a problem. A little bit high on his inverted cross there. You can see that his shoulders are above the ring height. Losing his position right there in his Maltese. Bounce to iron cross. Well done there. Taking a little extra rest. He heads into his swing, into another inverted cross. Little movement of the rings. Dismount. Full twisting double layout. Fighting for the landing. Every 10th counts right now.
Well, every 10th certainly does count, with just 0.2 points separating third and fourth place at the moment. His score 15.0. Both the Chinese and the Japanese will finish this competition on high bar. This is one event where the Japanese have been better than the Chinese gymnasts. Here is Hisashi Mizutori. Earlier in qualification on high bar, he had the highest score on this apparatus, so the Japanese are counting on a score of around the 15.5-point mark.
Japan's also depending on their difficulty here to boost their scores. Mizutori's got 4 release elements planned. The Chinese are known to be a little bit more cautious on this event. Less difficulty. There's his first major release element there. And the second, the Coleman. A lot of risk in this routine. Losing a little bit of momentum in his swing there. Trying to regain it here. He'll gather some speed as he starts to prepare for his dismount. Looking for a clean landing here. Looking for every point they can gather right now. Excellent, strong execution and difficulty in that routine.
Well, the Japanese may want to push the envelope, hope to catch the Chinese, but Lori, they have to remember there are 3 or 4 other teams that still have a shot at catching them.
You know, with this format, the competition is not over till it's over. 3 up, 3 count, and we saw what happened to the Koreans in 2001. One of their athletes got injured, and they had to take a 0. If something like that happened to China or Japan here, then all of a sudden the door's open for any other team to step in.
Well, that is the second highest score of this competition on high bar. The only other gymnast to score higher was Germany's Fabian Hambuschen. Coming up next is Yang Tae-young. He's the reigning all-around Olympic bronze medalist, and that is why the Koreans have him competing on every apparatus in this event final. This is by far his weakest event here at these World Championships.
Trying to gather as much strength as possible. Three strength elements in combination. Back roll into an iron cross. So far, so good. Shaky on his inverted cross. Comes out of it, repeats it again. Shaky in his handstand position. We're seeing a lot of deductions in the B score. Low difficulty on the dismount. That will be a deduction here, only doing a double layout.
2 athletes for the Koreans have gone to the rings, and so far nothing really spectacular.
Absolutely nothing spectacular. The positions and the strength elements have been a little bit off. There have been a lot of deductions in the B score.
Back now to high bar. Here is Yusuke Hoshi of Japan. This is the 4th score that he will contribute to this Japanese team in the team final. He fell just short of qualifying for the high bar final, so he is capable of a score in the 15-point or more range.
Again, we're going to see some of those high-flying release skills. There's a tucked Kovacs. And a Coleman. Hop full and a half, a red Balco.
Yep. Nice. Come on, John.
Almost a misstep with his hand there. He regains control. Quick thinking, very good thinking, under pressure, into the dismount, full twisting double layout, nails the landing. Another great routine for Japan.
They'll be looking for a score of around 15 points. That may be just a little shy.
There's a look at his Kovacs, and his other major release element is called a Coleman. It's a double salto with a full twist. Take a look at his eyes. He will spot this bar the entire time. He knows exactly where it is and when to regrasp.
14.8. Well, the Japanese will add another 14.8 points to their overall score here at these World Championships. Now let's go back to the Koreans and Kim Da-young, who is the reigning Olympic silver medalist in the all-around competition. He has qualified for that competition once again here at these World Championships. Right now, though, he's trying to get his country in position to win a bronze medal. He is the last gymnast for Korea today.
And Korea desperately needs a very strong score here. First athlete up scored a 15, then a 14. Kim Da-young scored a 14.75 in qualifying.
The other Korean athletes looked a little tired on rings.
bonus points by combining the strength elements. Oh, he's out of control here, misses his planche. Swings up into an inverted cross. Fatigue is definitely taking its toll here. That may be the deciding factor. A bronze medal may be out of reach for the Koreans. This will score much lower than his 14.75 from qualifying. A huge hit for the Korean team.
Well, the Koreans are going to have to hope that either Germany, Russia, or the United States, or all three, falter. The rings certainly cost the Koreans here in Stuttgart today.
You can see the strain on his face. He's trying to keep those feet up above the ring height. Nice position in his iron cross, but he simply didn't have the strength to hold the positions crisp and clean the way the judges want to see them.
625. Und Hoshi Yuzuka aus Japan am Reck auf 14,80.
Well, that score is going to be below 14 points, a score of 13.625 for Kim Dae-jung of Korea. So a disappointment there for the reigning Olympic silver medalist in the all-around competition. Japan's top gymnast on high bar during qualification is coming up next. Hiroyuki Tomita. And we have seen a lot of this man today. He is the 2004 silver medalist on this event.
The gold medal may be out of reach for Japan here, but they need to secure that silver medal with a consistent, solid routine. Tomita has the experience in high-level competition. Nails his Coleman. In-bar hop, full and a half. A little struggle getting up and over and maintaining the speed and rhythm. But overall, he's showing control on this event. You never feel anxious while you're watching him. Dismount. Pops into a nailed landing. That should secure them at least the silver medal.
Tomita is the 2005 World All-Around Champion. He's great on every single apparatus. He is the anchor of this Japanese team, and he comes through here.
Die Goldmedaille. Welche wird es heute hier in Stuttgart sein?
Well, his score 15.550. That's a little higher than the qualification score he had.
Three hits for Japan on the risky high bar. That's good news for them. China's still to come on that event. They have a little bit more conservative routines planned.
Well, the Japanese did what they had to do. Now all they can do is wait. When we return to Germany, we'll find out who the 2007 men's team champions are. We're back in Stuttgart for the last routines in this men's team final. With just a few gymnasts left to go, China has a commanding lead over Japan. They are followed by Germany, Korea, Russia, and the United States. The real fight here is for that bronze medal position. The Germans' final apparatus is floor, an event they are comfortable finishing last on. Here is Hugen Spiridonov. He scored 15 points on floor in qualifying.
Opening with a combination of three elements. We saw the Koreans falter on the rings. That means there's a huge opportunity here for this German team. A bronze medal is on the line.
Heading into this round, there was just 0.2 points separating the Koreans and the Germans.
Good news for the Germans is they are on an event that has a high chance of them hitting 3 strong routines.
And the Americans just completed their floor exercises. They produced 3 strong scores, so it's not only the Germans that are looking to catch the Koreans for 3rd place, but the Americans are heavily in the mix there as well.
So far, an extremely clean routine. Final tumbling pass, front double twist, another solid landing, so impressive on the landings.
There is Fabian Hambuschen. He will be the last man to compete for Germany here in Stuttgart today. And the score, 15.250, so an impressive score for the Germans on floor. Back to high bar, and Wang Shu of China. Heading into this final rotation, the Chinese had built up a commanding 6-point lead. A good pad considering this has traditionally been a challenging event for them.
And they sat and watched on the sidelines as Japan hit their 3 routines. So they know they need to get the job done here. They want to walk away with that gold medal. No huge misses. No stopped routines allowed. Straight to Tkachev. Chinese traditionally have a little more conservative routines on this event. They get most of their points through combination of elements and those twisting elements right there. Only 1 major release element in this routine. Some of the top athletes on this event will do 4 or 5 large, risky release elements. Conservative but clean.
Wang Shu of China with a pretty clean routine, and that's all the Chinese want at this point.
He's a veteran on this team, and he showed off his experience here.
14.525 the score for Wang Shu of China.
Wang Shu is a veteran on this team, and he showed his experience there.
Back to the race now for 3rd place, and the Germans have just 2 athletes left to go on floor. Their fate really, Laurie, is in their own hands. If they can have 2 solid floor exercises, the bronze medal could well be theirs. And this is certainly one of Marcel Nugent's best events.
This is only his 2nd competitive event today, and sometimes that can be a struggle, having to stand on the sidelines in between events. Your body can get cold. He's showing no problem so far, nailing a front double twist to a front layout half. Flares to handstand, back into flares, down to his split position. Concentrating, trying to block out the pressure. Taking 1 skill at a time, that is so important at this point in the routine. Here's a big one here, double Arabian, a little stiff on the landing. Final tumbling pass, a round off 2.5 twist. Another clean routine for the Germans.
Germany has not won a men's world team medal since 1999. It is a possibility now with 1 gymnast left to go on floor exercise. Listen to the crowd.
What an exciting competition for these athletes to be able to compete so well in front of your home country crowd. This is his combination pass, 1.5, front full, front 1.5. See a little bit of a direction problem, but he is fighting hard to stay in bounds. 1 foot over would be 1/10 deduction, 2 feet over would be 3/10 deduction. Here's his non-gymnastics element. Flares to handstand, pirouette, back into his flares.
His score, 15.075, and that is the best score so far by the Germans today on floor exercise. Here is 19-year-old Zhu Kai of China. He is considered China's best hope on high bar. He finished 7th on this apparatus at a World Cup event earlier this year in Paris. All the Chinese need for him to do, Lori, is not have a major mistake. I guess you're talking about on this apparatus a fall.
He just has to get through the routine. They could probably still win with a fall here. He just has to get through all of his skills. Release element right here. Great catch. And the dismount. Another solid routine. Double twisting, double layout, one step on the landing.
2 down, 1 to go for the Chinese as they have one competitor left to go in this men's team final.
Taking a look at his release element, they are required to do at least one element that releases and regrafts the bar. It was a laid out Jaeger in combination with a Healy.
Here again is the face of gymnastics in Germany. The pressure is on this man, 19-year-old Fabian Hambüchen, the second to last competitor in this men's team final. He's going to need a score of around 15.5 points or better if this German team has a chance of moving up into third place.
Opens with an explosive full in, full out in the laid out position. Big difficulty. Look at the confidence. He is plowing through these skills, and this is not easy stuff. You'd almost think that he was rushing a little bit, but that's his style. Extremely confident. Flares, handstand pirouette flares, adding a little finesse, little break dancing. It's called a mana. Press to handstand. He must hold this for 2 seconds.
The crowd can sense it.
He is feeding off the energy here, and he needs everything he can get. Hits the double pike.
There is his father, who is also his coach, Wolfgang. And they think they have got it. They need around 15.5 points to take the bronze medal here in Germany. And his score, 15.650. So it looks like Germany will take the bronze medal here at these World Championships.
An amazing feeling for this German team. They came into this competition so well prepared, and it has paid off.
There is one final competitor left in this men's team final. Zhao Qin of China. He might want to play it safe as the Chinese have all but sewn up this 2007 World Championship, but as we've seen before, Lori, anything can happen, but it would take a couple of major errors to derail this Chinese team now.
Basically, he needs to get through the routine. Straight to Kachev. Horses required release element.
Obviously still reacting to the German team's performance.
So important to maintain focus here. Just the dismount. Down the final stretch here, double twisting, double layout. This gold medal is China's.
That should do it for the Chinese here in Stuttgart. Hugs all around for a job well done by these 6 athletes today. They truly show that they are the class of the field. After a disappointing 5th place finish at the Athens Olympics in 2004, China looks unstoppable as we are less than a year away from the Beijing Games. And there they have it, confirmation they are the 2007 World Team Champions.
Not only did they defend their world title here, they certainly made a huge statement with Beijing less than a year away.
So China finishes nearly 5 points up on Japan. The United States a little bit back in 4th place, as some would consider the biggest upset here, the German team.
The bronze medal for Germany came down to the final event, and Fabian, you were the last competitor for your team on that event. What was it like to win a bronze medal here in front of your home country?
It's just awesome. Everybody is really happy now, and well, I was the last one on floor and was really excited, but I have to say that I was more excited on the high bar, but I knew in the end, so now it counts, and well, I got it, so I'm very happy.
We'll wrap things up from the 2007 Artistic Gymnastics World Championships when we return to Germany in a moment.
Dritter Platz und Gewinner der Bronzemedaille ist die Mannschaft.
Welcome back to Stuttgart, where we have now moved to the Medal Plaza, and thousands of fans have come out to see the medals being handed out in the men's team competition. China wins its 8th men's team world title. Japan takes silver. But most of the onlookers are here to see the host German team, which wins its first world men's team medal in more than 15 years.
The success of the German team here shows you that anything is possible. Maybe one day a Canadian team could be up on that podium. Right now, the Canadians, with a healthy team in Beijing, could be stronger than ever.
And off the top of the show, we showed you the Canadian team managing to finish 11th in qualifying. And that gives them the most important thing they came to Stuttgart looking for, a berth at next year's Olympics.
This team, I have a feeling that we're going to be so amazing at the Olympics. We're going to just thrill everyone and surprise them, amaze them, and we have a chance to really challenge for a 5th, maybe 4th. Maybe a bronze medal, who knows? It's always good to set your sights high.
And we'll find out how the Canadians do next summer. Coming up on CBC Sports Weekend, Golden League Athletics. Then later tonight, our continuing coverage of the FIFA Women's World Cup of Soccer. It's Australia taking on Norway. And a reminder that you'll be able to watch the Canadians in action on Wednesday. It's Canada versus Australia. Then next Sunday, we'll be back in Stuttgart, Germany with the men's and the women's individual all-around final. That comes your way at 2:30 Eastern. I'm Brenda Irving for Lori Strong-Ballard and the rest of the crew here in Germany. Thanks for watching our coverage of the 2007 Artistic Gymnastics World Championships.